Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Tech Talks with NASSCOM Insights. I'm Prerna Buckshee, Senior Analyst, and I'm a part of GCC's Digital Transformation and Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Charters at NASSCOM Insights. I'll be your host for the day, and in today's episode, we are going to discuss some key facets of digital transformation in the retail space. And to join us in today's discussion are two distinguished panelists. We have with us Mr. Vrijesh Nagathan, Chief Information and Digital Tech Officer, Marico India Limited. Vrijesh comes with over 20 years of experience in IT leadership, business transformation, project management, and user support shared services, business planning, supply chain and manufacturing across the FMCG, IT consulting, automobile, and engineering industries. He has worked across Asia and Europe with multi-country, multicultural, and virtual teams. Also, Vrijesh has worked with organizations that truly care for their customers, employees, and the environment. And the environment is something which infuses passion and energy in him. In his current role as CIO, Marico, he handles the innovation segment at Marico, overlooking the digital transformation journey of the organization. Welcome to the session, Vrijesh.
Thank you so much, Prem.
We also have with us Prateek Mahajan, Director Operations, Unicommerce Esolutions. Prateek is a business head operations leader and an ex-entrepreneur who has been working in and building startups since 2012 and has been in the e-commerce industry ever since. Currently, he is the Director of Operations at Unicommerce. His eye for detail and ability to handle adverse situations with a calm head makes him a popular leader. He has been working in and building startups primarily with leading e-commerce companies, loves traveling, and can be often spotted on beaches when on vacation. Welcome to the session, Prateek.
Thank you so much, Prerna. Glad to be here.
Great, great. So before we start with the questions, I would just like to give a brief context of our discussion today. With the world coming to terms with the new normal or next normal becoming the normal, to survive and stay relevant, businesses are not only realigning themselves to the transformed way of conducting business as usual, but also in certain cases are completely changing their business operating models too. Change truly has become the only constant that human beings and enterprises alike need to embrace. And in the current context, digital transformation no longer is a good to have discretionary initiative, but finds its way as a crucial business imperative in nearly all boardroom and senior level strategic discussions conducted in the past few years. The onset of COVID has propelled the digital transformation journey of a majority of enterprises across sectors, the retail sector being no exception. In fact, the retail industry in particular has been restructured by numerous factors such as the exponential growth of e-commerce and omni-channel, rapidly shifting consumer behaviors, hyper-personalization, the increasing need for a unified customer experience, and snowballing supply chain disruptions, all of which have been intensified by the pandemic. Resultingly, these shifts have exacerbated the pressure on the industry's top and bottom line. Thus, in order to deal with all these developments by engaging customers, empowering employees, optimizing operations, and re-engineering their products and services, digital transformation can act as a panacea for retail players with the pace, level, nature of tech adoption, as well as the seamlessness with which the systems and processes talk to each other being the key differentiator. Accelerated adoption of foundational digital technologies such as cloud, edge computing, artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet of Things, and cybersecurity, while testing waters with emerging technologies such as Web3, metaverse, quantum computing, connectivity technologies like 5G, 6G, Wi-Fi 6, etc., is now becoming a norm across sectors, with the retail sector progressing in this direction by leaps and bounds. Explicating all the above factors and much more, NASSCOM and Avasant have published a report titled Digital Enterprise Maturity 3.0, Boosting Business Resilience Through Technology, in the month of July, which aims to construct a framework that is comprehensive, yet adaptable and scalable at assessing an enterprise's overall digital maturity and benchmarking its performance within the sector, the region, and globally. The report highlights sectoral nuances as well, so would request everyone to please give it a read. Okay, so without further ado, I would now like to jump straight into the questions. I would like to start with you, Prateek, and then would request Vrijesh to also share his inputs on the question too. Among the many changes that the COVID-19 pandemic has induced, digital transformation disrupting the retail industry is certainly one that is remarkable, I think. And the transition in the buying patterns of customers from offline to online modes, with the new age consumer becoming more informed, less loyal, and increasingly channel agnostic, demanding differentiated, customized, and rapidly evolving experiences with greater product connect, has been significant and rapid. Moreover, the evolution of retailing to e-tailing and e-commerce to Q-commerce has prompted retailers to not only onto the digital transformation bandwagon, but also adopt digital technologies at warp speed and come up with innovative business models to cater to the fast changing customer demands and customer experience expectations. In the light of these developments, what, in your opinion, are the key drivers of the digital transformation charter in your organization, as well as the retail sector as a whole, and any noticeable shifts in the pre-COVID versus post-COVID era, before March 2020 and post March 2020, that you would like to highlight at an organizational as well as at a sectoral level? So over to you, Prateek.
Thanks, Prerna. I think very interesting topic and very interesting times that we're living with. The entire transformation change that has happened pre and post COVID has been very interesting. I think I and Vrijesh have been at the opposite ends of the table, where
Yeah.
he has been on the client side, I have been on the provider side, and we tend to see a lot of folks and a lot of companies going towards digital transformation, and very exciting times overall as well. So for us, when we talk about this, the entire transformation, which has been more of a steady transformation, started way before the COVID-19 struck us, right?
Okay.
While the e-commerce industry has been growing over the past 10 years, I have seen different phases of the entire industry where the first 5 years of the decade were where a lot of companies were looking to get into the e-commerce place and digitally transform themselves. The second half of the decade has been where the acceleration actually took place. The
Right.
2020 COVID was definitely a different phase, but I think 15 to 20 has been a place where majority of the brands, or at least the large ones, started seriously taking up the entire digital transformation, to the extent that technology started leaping into each and every part of their entire operations.
Right.
Now, once we talk about this, we can just talk about the fact that the pandemic made significant changes in the mindset, right?
Right.
Of the entire masses. It's not just the brands, but it changed the entire way the entire economy or the entire people work, which fueled the growth
Absolutely.
of e-commerce specifically in the last 2 to 3 years. Brands today are more aware of technology, and they understand the importance of automation. Definitely, this is something that I feel that was not there pre-pandemic. I remember that it used to be companies where they had very specific pockets of teams that were working towards digital transformation, but
Right.
the retail side of the company, the operation side of the company, were not very involved into that. Today, when we talk to a founder for an organization, they talk about digital transformation, on how they can actually service customers better, how they can actually look at post-purchase better. And not
Right.
just that, but it has started going into pre-purchase as well. It has started going into each and every aspect of the business. That's
Correct.
that's the way that SaaS itself, software as a service itself, has percolated, where
Right.
companies talk about that they have different SaaS stacks available. For pre-purchase, they're looking at 3 4 different tools. For post-purchase, there are 3 4 different tools that are available.
Right.
In fact, tools have come up today where if there is nothing that is off the shelf, you can build your own SaaS tool as well,
Absolutely.
whether it be to customize a CRM, whether it be to customize certain views that you want. And I think that has really sped up the entire part, which gives a lot of freedom to teams to speed and customize the way that they want to create. Now,
Right.
post-pandemic, we have seen that a lot of brands have started going omni-channel, which is basically getting all their stores of their offline channels connected to a single online or a single route. It might be to service order, it might be to get a proper view of the inventory, or it might be to have an endless aisle. But a lot of brands have started going into that itself.
Right.
Or when we talk about traditional brands, I think from FMCG is definitely going digital. And especially for the past 2 to 3 years, FMCG has been at the forefront of the digital transformation, whether it be in foods, whether it be in personal care products. But FMCG has been the sector that has actually led the entire growth, at least in the last 2 years, where
Yeah.
fashion has not been to the same extent as FMCG has been.
Right.
Uh, and when once we talk about this, there are a lot of small stores which we used to be, whether it be Kirana stores or whether it be smaller chains, all of them have started coming online. And to
Right.
cater to those, we've also brought out special plans in Unicommerce, the SMB plans, which can help them go online, connect to online channels very easily
Right.
and increase their sales. And
Right.
overall, going ahead, we do see that we will witness a rising number of SMBs building their online presence and try to compete with the best of the best in the industry. We've seen a lot of brands over the last 2 to 3 years which have become mammoth brands, giving an example of M Caffeine, giving an example of Mama Earth, where over
Right.
the last 2 years they have taken the market by storm and have really helped boost the entire ecosystem as such. Not just their own companies, but the entire ecosystem as such has been boosted with the help where companies such as Marico have really come forward and
Right.
expanded their own portfolios. They have started growing online very well because it 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 gave a very strong and a good I would say a confidence to all traditional FMCG companies as well that
Hmm.
the online models can not just work, but they can also be profitable.
Correct. Correct.
And this really helped increase the distribution, while it might still be a very small percentage because
Right.
FMCG companies, traditional like Marico and others, are large companies, but they themselves are seeing how this uh, transformation can help them, and that's the key from my side.
Okay, great, great. Those are truly some great insights, Prateek. Thanks for those. Vrijesh, now I would request you to please share your thoughts on the same question as well.
So I think Prateek, explained it so nicely. So, just to kind of add one or two points on top of it would
Right,
be to one, somewhere we all think that that act of add to cart and then click buy is what makes it all digital. But I would say that there is much of life before that, there is much of life after that also. So to
right,
that extent, huge amount of transformation has happened in the way people approach those particular aspects in terms of the overall digital engagement piece itself. How do you make that part effective? And also in terms of once you add to cart, the comfort with which people are able to make digital payments today is
right,
phenomenal. I can tell
right.
you that just the last 2 days I was in rural Gujarat, and I was kind of doing a market visit and all of that. So right from, I would say, the airport, the particular good classy hotel that I was staying, to the rural chai shop where I kind of had tea, the market visit that I did, each individual, I would say, shop that I went and saw, there was a particular UPI QR code which was there,
Wow,
and not
wow.
once, not once, be it in the hotel, in the airport, on the dhaba, or in the particular rural town, etc. I had to take out my wallet and reach for cash, or reach for my credit card. All of it was kind of done through my mobile phone. So to that extent, I would say that everything that enables that particular sale part of it is getting transformed. And a huge credit to the particular initiatives that the overall ecosystem is taking, and also the particular government and quasi-government bodies like NPCI is enabling through UPI and all of that. And also, I would say, taking it a step further, the kind of promise that ONDC is holding towards the commerce part of it, and more so for, I would say, the Kirana mom and pop stores which are there, appears, phenomenal. The overall possibility itself is so exciting, is what I would like to say. So if someone thinks that yes, we are done with digital transformation, I would say that's the beginning of it.
Wonderful. Wonderful. No, great insights. And that's truly so nice to hear a case in point in digital inclusion, which you just shared. That it's actually reached the hinterlands of India. Great. So, great points there. Thanks, Vrijesh. Interestingly, a key highlight from our digital enterprise maturity report has been the significant increase in overall digital spending in the last 2 years. In fact, our analysis of the surveyed enterprises reveals that in FY 2022, nearly 70% enterprises spend more than 4% of their revenues on IT, and nearly 60% businesses spend more than 20% of their IT budgets on digital. So it would be wonderful to understand your views, Prateek, on this question. If you too have witnessed significant traction in digital spending in the last 2 years, not just at an organization level, but from a overall retail perspective as well. So,
Yes.
Prateek, if I could request you to address that question.
Yes, definitely. So, definitely, there has been an increase in the digital spend by companies. While going ahead, companies have realized that it is going to be the experience of the consumer that is really going to matter. And that is going to help them retain and get more customers onto their brands. So, we talk to multiple brands day in and day out, and some of the broad areas which they have been focusing on are improving the customer's post-purchase experience, pre-purchase experience, improving their customer CRMs, and spending more to ensuring cybersecurity details itself. So let me just give an example that when we talk about brands when they're coming online, a lot of brands in the second half of the last decade had been talking about getting online onto the Flipkarts and the Amazons of the world. And now today, what we see are brands coming on onto their own websites, getting a lot of and owning a lot of experience. And everywhere we talk about, they want to control the entire experience, exactly like Vrijesh had mentioned. That end-to-end experience, whether it be pre-purchase, whether it be trying to reach out to the customer or how to best target a customer, then getting them on the page, getting them to the checkout, and everything post-checkout. And I think every brand aspires to that Amazon Prime experience, if I may say so, where you get a 1 day delivery, 2 day delivery,
True.
and then ensuring that once the delivery is done, you keep a check with the customer that is everything fine, and how can we increase the post purchase engagement also with the customers, whether it be getting social media following or whether it be just generally giving them insights into what new is coming across. So this entire experience that has come across is something that everybody has started focusing on. Then, based on this, what they have actually achieved, the brands on investing on this, is that they have reduced their customer acquisition cost because of a lot of these aspects. They're increasing their digital spending, especially on greasing their supply chain to ensure the experience is taken care of. And as we say in the old school way, and if you have one customer who is going to be a fan of yours, he is going to get you 20 more customers than any advertising ever will be able to get you. Word of
Absolutely.
mouth on the experience is the most important thing. And that's where brands are also investing to give that experience so that the brands themselves give that word of mouth. It's not just advertisement that can sustain the brand forever. So that definitely is there. We've seen companies like all companies like apparels and personal care going omni-channel, they're integrating the business, traditional shopkeepers going online. Then we've also seen that entire shift where businesses want to change or increase their digital presence. Uh, Today or 2 years ago, when we used to get a request from clients, it used to be that can we integrate with the front end, or probably with your SAPs or Navisions, the key ERPs, financial ERPs or tallies. Today, the kind of request that we are getting is, can we integrate with your CRMs? Can we integrate with your courier providers? Can we integrate with a communication partner? All of those new SaaS tools have become a very key element of the ecosystem, just to ensure that the customer experience is pristine and tracked from end to end. That definitely I see where companies have been spending.
Yeah, great, great. Thanks so much, Prateek. And for my next question, I would request you, Vrijesh, to kindly share your inputs. What would be interesting to understand, Vrijesh, would be the key digital focus areas such as tech products and services, digital workforce, R&D innovation, or inorganic growth through acquiring companies with tech capabilities that account for a larger slice of the digital spend budget pie for your respective organizations at present, and basically at a broader level for the retail sector. That would be great if you could share some insights on that. And also, if there has been a reshuffling of digital budget allocation, marking a discernible shift in any of these focus areas from pre-COVID times to the current periods, it would be great if you could throw some light on that.
So the overall way in which the ecosystem has evolved, the overall reorientation of, I would say, the consumers has happened. Organizations, enterprises will need to respond to that, right? Will need to realign themselves. So to
Right.
that extent, there will be, a particular change in focus, a shift in focus in terms of, getting in newer stacks, getting in, I would say, more, you know, uh, 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 flexible architectures at play,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
making sure that you're much more scalable, you're much more available to the overall ecosystem. And I'm not saying just to the consumers, but even to our particular partners in the trade, be it the general trade, be it modern trade, be it the e-com players, or be it even to some extent when I talk about peer companies, etc., into the QSR formats which are there. So
Yeah.
all the particular integrations into our particular business partners at both ends, even when we look at the kind of initiative that we have rolled out as a part of our Kalpavriksha Foundation for Marico, which helps our entire coconut farmers to be able to kind of be connected with us and kind of make sure that their particular focus, their particular way in which they approach their farming practices, etc., and their entire liaison with us is strengthened. So from a complete reach out to the world at large is something
Yeah.
which is undergoing a shift, a paradigm shift. And of course, the underlying technologies which we will focus on is also something which will change to that extent.
Right.
And I'm not saying this is true only of Marico. And
Yeah.
like I said, this is true even for a lot of the peer companies that we interact with.
Right.
So all in all, I would say that, the more amount of promise the newer technology brings to the table, the more amount of focus, the more amount of attention, the more amount of resources, the more amount of spending it will see. And this is
Right.
something where, it will be what you would call as a virtuous cycle, wherein the overall, I would say, the larger the promise, the bigger the focus will be.
Right. Right. No, very nice, very nicely put. Interesting inputs. Thanks, Vrijesh. My next question is around technology priorities, and again, I would request you to please share your inputs on this question, Vrijesh. So, which, according to you, are the top 3 priorities for your organization as well as retail segment as a whole? These would essentially be the ones that you envisage to be crucial internally for, say, streamlining processes as well as externally from a customer experience standpoint for the next 2 to 3 years. And it would be wonderful to understand these key tech focus areas from the perspective of both mainstream tech priorities, such as cloud, cybersecurity, big data analytics, AI, ML, as well as nascent emerging technologies like Web3, metaverse, connectivity technologies like 5G, 6G, Wi-Fi 6, etc. So I would request you to share any specific use cases also that you might have in mind.
So look, if you look at the overall technologies itself, right? In my view, you can't leave any of those particular ones out because they've all become so fundamental. You talk about the cloud infrastructure, you talk about SaaS platforms, you talk about cyber security, you talk about big data analytics, you talk about, let's say, AI, ML. So all of those are something which have become so fundamental, and there's nothing like you can say that okay, I'll focus only on the top 2 or 3, etc. No, it will not work that way. Now, in terms of how you kind of prioritize it over a period of time, what ones will you focus in this quarter, which will you focus in the next quarter, etc., will depend on the operational dynamics which are at play. But let's say if you talk about a horizon, which is, let's say, anything between 4 to 6 quarters, all of them will show up in my view. Now, talking about the nascent and emerging technologies per se, I would say, they hold tremendous amount of promise, is how we perceive it. For example, and again, over there, those will go hand in hand with each other. For example, for your initiatives on metaverse to kind of get adopted widely, something like 5G will become essential, is how, at least I perceive it. If you try and, do a content rich kind of interaction environment, and the connectivity itself is not in place for a mass consumption, then possibly, one will lag with the other. So to that extent, they will, in my view, go hand in hand with each other. But if we look at the particular technologies which are at play in the nascent space, they will have to kind of complement each other. If we kind of build a very content rich environment for, let's say, a consumer interaction on the metaverse, if it is not supplemented by technologies like 5G, which will allow you for a very smooth and unhindered kind of an experience, they will have to kind of go hand in hand. You can't, how do you say, envision, one taking off without the other. So,
absolutely.
in short, I would say these are technologies which hold a lot of promise. We have been kind of looking at all of these things with quite a bit of interest. We kind of also work with our teams, our particular business functions which are out there, and then try and see what is the art of possible with each one of these. But as they are nascent, etc., to say that okay, that you'll bet your money completely on one of them, I think it would be too early.
Yeah. No, fair point. I think it's a convergence of technologies more than, one or two being in isolation. So that's really, really interesting inputs. In the same vein, I would like to, it would be really interesting to understand, Prateek and Vrijesh, that how do you perceive the retail industry landscape to transform with all these emerging technologies gaining prominence? For instance, a lot of companies we've been hearing in the news have been embracing Web3 and metaverse in recent times. So how are these new age technologies changing the way business is done for your particular organizations, and as well as at a broader level for the retail industry? So Prateek, if we can start with you this time.
Sure. So, as I think we had also mentioned earlier on, that the technologies that we're talking about are right now at a nascent stage in terms of adoption currently for the Indian retail industry as such,
Right.
but definitely hold an immense growth potential. For example, Web 3.0 or blockchain, it is a decentralized platform where brands can control over the way that they connect with the consumers and
Right.
conduct businesses. So e-commerce shopping will definitely become more inclusive. It will definitely end up creating more shopping platforms for consumers.
Right.
Whereas the way that we end to work on these things is that we will provide technology in terms of how to streamline the entire supply chain and elevate the post-purchase experience. This
Absolutely.
definitely will remain consistent with the technology. Technologies tend to be more like a in old school ways, creating a highway uh,
Right.
between two parts. If you have the highway properly created, I think people will find a way to travel from one place to another at faster paces, at more convenient places, and more additional things tend to come in. So, just to give you an example, I'd like to take this moment akin to, say, for example, earlier on in 14, 15, when the smartphones had become fairly affordable and 4G had come in. At
Right.
that point of time, everybody moved on to mobile. And
Absolutely.
this is the moment where new innovations started happening. It were
Mm.
people moved away from desktops, from bulky desktops, and moved to mobile. And I think everybody right now has everything on the mobiles, no matter what and where they are, for good or for worse. I would like to add. But
True.
this is the moment where technologies like blockchain technologies tend to come in and accelerate and given more avenues for brands, for consumers to elevate the entire experience and bring in no new changes that were not even expected. When we
Right.
talk about metaverse, definitely metaverse is in its earlier phases, but from what we hear, it is going to be a retail heavy platform. It is going to be a consumer first platform where new things are going to advent, and we definitely would want to see how it changes the way that people do shop. We've seen some utility towards education, definitely in the metaverse, that has had a few startups coming across. But as time goes by, how retail comes in and invests is something that is going to definitely bring in new avenues and make the world even smaller, as we tend to put it over there.
Very interesting insights. Quite noteworthy. Nicely put, Prateek. And Rajesh would request you also to share your perspective on this as well.
Mhm. So essentially, like we spoke earlier, these
Yeah.
are environments, which will be content rich, which means the level of interaction that you would be having will go up multifold. For example, you could possibly, you know, look at multiple variations in the product. You could interact with those particular things rather than, just imagining saying that, like, you have a pink variant, you have a yellow variant. You'd actually
Yeah.
possibly able to, feel it, sense it to a large extent. And that is what holds up the promise of, making sure that your pre-purchase kind of an experience is something which is as detailed as the particular
Yeah.
consumer wants it. And also the overall post-purchase is also something that will be that much more interactive. For example, organizations can possibly have a complete ongoing channels where consumers can reach out and interact in real time, rather than, in today's world where you just possibly would have limited forms of interactions which will be there. So to that extent, these are particular possibilities which are kind of opening up.
Mm.
And if you look at the overall, I would say, uh, end state, it's something which looks to be quite, I would say, rich. as well as we progress. And also as consumers start experimenting with it, enterprises also will experiment with those things.
Absolutely.
And as a particular collective effort, the overall ecosystem will start becoming richer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, no, great, great. Very interesting inputs and phenomenal promise I think nascent technologies are bringing in. So my final question is around an asset that is immensely critical to all organizations, talent. I would like to understand how does the current digital talent landscape for Unicommerce and Marico look like in terms of, average percentage of digital talent as a percent of overall workforce, as well as approximately, what is the talent profile that you have? Is it more towards, permanent full-time employees vis-a-vis gig workers, especially in the light of rise in gig workforce in the last few years, with COVID setting in and changing the definition of work and workforce. So Prateek, would request you to share your inputs, please, and then I'll take an overview, a bird's eye view of talent from Vrijesh as well.
Sure. Thanks, Prerna. So we are a supply chain SaaS platform, right? And with over 40% of our workforce is a part of the digital talents team that we have. Even when we talk about operations team or when we talk about people who interact with the clients, they themselves are semi-tech, and we are more towards technology than any other firm towards operations out there. So the teams are continuously working on multiple different projects. We have dedicated teams working on different aspects of the business itself. So even so, in the digital talent, we have multiple teams that help ensure that we consistently improve our tech to stay ahead of the curve. One team's work on product upgrades, another team is working on new products. Then we have a team dedicated towards building a stronger integration networks. And as we continue to expand our international expansion and launch new products, we will continue to expand our digital workforce for the next couple of years. Our 100% workforce is in-house, and we are going to continue on that part itself.
Wonderful, wonderful. And Rajesh, if I could request you to give like a sort of overall overview of, talent, digital talent per se.
So, Prerna, the workforce itself is also undergoing a transformation
Yeah,
as much
yeah,
as, the consumers and the enterprises are undergoing the transformation. So the shift towards, I would say, the emerging technologies, the nascent technologies is something which is very, very evident. So,
right.
and even for, the particular talent we have who have been on the traditional technology spaces, there is quite a bit of interest in all the particular emerging and nascent technologies. People
Yeah,
want to kind of learn these things. People want to
yes,
experience these things. So, that is something which we kind of encourage at an individual level, at an enterprise level also, for people to reorient themselves.
wonderful.
And in terms of, I would say, the availability and the particular, I would say, um, the particular ecosystem providing those particular inputs, I think that also is something which is really, really gone up. So all in all, what I would want to summarize is as much as the particular products, the particular consumers, ecosystem, organizations are undergoing transformation, talent is also undergoing a lot of transformation.
Nice, nice. Very nicely put. Thanks. Thanks, Rajesh. So, gentlemen, this has truly been very intriguing. So with this, we come to the end of today's discussion. Thank you for your time and compelling insights, Prateek and Rajesh. This truly has been an enthralling session. That's it from this edition of Tech Talk. Stay tuned for more insightful discussions happening in the Indian tech industry with NASSCOM Insights YouTube channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. Till then, it's goodbye from everyone here at NASSCOM Insights. Thanks so much.
Thank you.